All right. Welcome everybody to the Wellness Challenge Week.
Sorry.
Oh, did something go on there? Sorry, I'm just going to, first of all, I'm going to mute a few people. Not trying to be rude, but there we go. I think everybody now is pretty much. All right, so yeah, first of all, if you could just mute yourself so we don't have that background noise, I appreciate it. Like I said last week, I do have the power and the control to mute you. So if I do that, don't be offended. So welcome to week 3. Holy moly, you're halfway done the Wellness Challenge. That's fantastic. I've still been receiving a few photos coming in, and we've got some midterm results. Wow, there are some teams that are really rocking it out there. So great work in your first 2 weeks to all of you. A couple things I just want to say before I introduce our presenter. So first of all, continue to send those results in. They're called the midweek, I guess, or midway through the Wellness Challenge results. And then what I'll do on Thursday, when I send out the email, I'll kind of let you know where everybody's sitting. If you like to be competitive and want to know if you're close to the top or middle or bottom or wherever. A lot of teams probably won't send me these mid results, and that's fine. What we're really looking for is 4 weeks from now. So anyways, team captains, you will get that email on Thursday to let you know where your team is sitting. Also, last week we had the challenge of new recipes, so I hope you were able to enjoy some healthy new recipes. And I know this week I've already had questions about my challenge, and maybe it wasn't really that clear, or maybe it's a little too challenging. It's all about technology. So I did send out a reminder yesterday. I made a few changes. Hopefully that was made it a little bit more reassuring to people around technology. It is just recommended that we try to be aware of how much we're on technology and to decrease it as best as possible. And I had said less than 2 hours or less outside of the work day. But a lot of people said, what if we don't work? What does that look like? So I'm going to say that we're all working. So we all kind of have an 8-hour workday. You can pick whatever that 8-hour workday is. And if you want technology in that 8-hour workday, just like us who sit in front of a computer, that's absolutely fine. And we're going to run this weekly challenge of 2 hours or less of technology Monday to Friday. On your weekends, go to town, watch the movies, Netflix, Winter Olympics, and everything else. So anyways, I hope that's clear. Sorry for the confusion on that. And other than that, I think that's all I want to say before I introduce our guest presenter today. So we have the topic of physical activity. We all know the importance of physical activity, but I think we can always gain and learn more information or some little tidbits that might help us. So today, we have Shay Sawatsky from Saskatchewan Health Authority. She is a physiotherapist student in her second year at U of S. So we welcome Shay. She's going to have a PowerPoint today as she speaks to the topic of physical activity. So welcome, Shay, and thank you so very much for all of your time and effort that's been put into this presentation. We look forward to what you have to share with us.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Val. I'm just going to share my screen here. And make sure it's going. Can you all see that?
There we go. Perfect. I'll mute myself now. And could everybody just give a thumbs up? We had a little bit of problem with audio before. Can you give a thumbs up if you can hear Shay?
Can you hear me? Test, test. Good. Awesome.
All right, I'm off.
Some thumbs. All right. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you a little bit about physical activity and really commend you all on making efforts to do some of these things like better nutrition and sleep. And physical activity is a piece that I think is really important. And so well done trying to incorporate some more of that into your life. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about why we even want to be physically active, kind of what's the importance here. Across a few different age groups. So for children, we know that being physically active actually improves the development of fundamental motor skills. So things like walking, running, jumping, throwing balls, all of that is actually improved by being physically active. And then there's, some of those standard things like improved blood pressure, cholesterol, increased bone density, and increased muscle mass as well. So in order to build strong bones and strong, healthy muscles, we actually need to use them. So things like running around and jumping and all of that helps to build up those tissues in our body. There's a decreased injury with being physically active, and also improved mental health, which is a really important one as well. For adults, there's some of those same things, like the improved mental health, blood pressure, cholesterol. There's also a prevention of chronic diseases. So things like diabetes or coronary vascular disease, heart diseases, things like cancer. There's some correlation between being physically active and the prevention of some of those things. And then kind of in alignment with that, there's a reduced premature death and improved health status as well. And then for older adults too, there's that prevention of chronic diseases, mental health improvements, blood pressure improvements. There's also some association between being more physically active and a decrease in cognitive decline. And there's something to be said for increasing that blood flow to your brain and kind of getting lots of oxygen to your brain by being active. And so that's a really important piece of that too as we age. There's a reduced mortality rate associated with being physically active. And then in this phase of life, being physically active is actually protective for our muscles and our bones. So as kids, you have to be active to build those tissues up. And then as older adults, kind of honestly, after we pass mid-30s, that muscle and that bone tends to decrease in density if we're not being active. And so, moving around, doing things that are, weight bearing or doing some strength training is really important in maintaining a strong body into our lives. So why do we care about being physically active? What's the purpose of being active now? I know for lots and lots of people, this pandemic has created additional barriers to being mentally and physically well. Things like gyms shutting down and being isolated and having to spend more time at home really has affected our ability to do the things that we enjoy doing to be active. But we know that habitual physical activity is associated with improved emotional and physical well-being. So it's really important and has lots of benefits to incorporating into our lives and really putting specific effort into trying to do. So just a few guidelines. These are all from a website called Participaction, which is a really good resource. It talks about kind of how we as Canadians typically do for activity levels, and then has all of these guidelines for different age groups for kind of how much we want to be hitting. And so for kids, we want to hit a moderate to vigorous physical activity for 60 minutes a day. So moderate to vigorous kind of means that it's above what you would do just walking. You want your heart rate to be elevated, maybe breathing a little harder, maybe getting a little sweaty for 60 minutes a day. And then doing some muscle and bone strengthening activities about 3 times a week. And then I know Val just talked to you a little bit about screen time, but this website also talks about the 2 hours a day of screen time and trying to limit that in your life too. And then limiting sedentary time is a big one. So sedentary is just the fancy word for sitting on your bum all day, which is something that definitely our society kind of lends itself well to. Lots of us have office jobs or enjoy doing things that allow us to sit for long periods of time. So we just want to check in with ourselves and make sure that we're not sitting for too much time in a day. So for adults, that number for moderate to vigorous physical activity shifts to 150 minutes per week. So if you thought about, a week and doing 5 days of really trying to be active, that would kind of break into 30 minutes a day, which isn't too much if you thought about doing, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, 10 minutes again in the evening. And then for this group too, we want to do several hours of light physical activity. So that could be things like stretching, walking, maybe some light yoga, if that's something that you enjoy doing. And then again, the importance of replacing sedentary behavior wherever possible. But the caveat to that is that we want to maintain sufficient sleep. So I know you've had another session on how important sleep is in our lives. And so we don't want to cut into the time that we would use to sleep with our physical activity. You really kind of want to look for those times in your day that would work. Cutting down on those sedentary times and using those hours to be more active. And then for older adults, again, it's really similar to kind of the general adults. We want to do moderate to vigorous physical activity for 150 minutes a week, doing that muscle strengthening 2 times a week. We want to start incorporating some physical activity that challenges balance. That's a really important factor in preventing falls and maintaining that strength. So things like single leg stances, or if that feels safe to do so. And then again, several hours of light physical activity. So there's all of these guidelines on how much. Lots of research says that, that 150 to 300 minutes per week of moderate to vigorous, and the 2 strength training sessions a week is kind of what we want to shoot for and is the ideal number. But that can feel really overwhelming when you kind of have your schedule in your day and maybe aren't used to doing a ton of physical activity. So there's also some research that says that anything that you do that's above what your baseline is going to have health benefits. So, if you sit for 10 hours in a day and you decide that over your lunch break, you're going to do a 10-minute walk or a 5-minute walk or take the stairs, those are things that are already going to have benefits for your heart, for your muscle, and for your lungs, and for your brain too. So anything that you do in addition to what you're already doing is really helpful. All right, so how do we do this? I think one of the most important things in trying to be more active is to pick activities that you enjoy. So I might tell you a few things today that sound good and that you think would be enjoyable, or this might all sound like terrible things and that you don't want to do any of my ideas, and that's okay. You kind of have to figure out what feels like it's doable, and there's lots of things in this life that are hard, and it would be good if the physical activity component is something that brings joy to your life. So, if going for a walk with a friend at lunch, or hanging out with your grandkids and running around with them as much as you can is something that would bring joy, then that's a really good way to incorporate activity into your life. Find something that's enjoyable, make it meaningful in your life, and then you're much more likely to actually continue doing it long term. So just a few ideas for you. I already said that walking during lunch, if you have a longer lunch break, just taking 10-20 minutes to move, and if it's nice outside, maybe soak in some sunshine. Things like stretch breaks can be really helpful. I know in my degree, I've been doing lots of sitting at a desk and staring at a screen for hours and hours a day. And I kind of have to check in with myself, realize that I'm, hunched forward. I have to sit up tall, maybe tuck my chin in because it's poking forward, roll my arms down. And then I often kind of just do a little bit of a head tilt from side to side, take a couple of deep breaths, stick one leg out at a time to stretch those hamstrings, the back of my legs out. And then I can settle back in and do another few hours of studying. So that can be a really good way to kind of check in and get a little more movement in. If things like alarms help you to kind of not just get lost in your day of sitting, sometimes I'll set, alarms on my phone for every hour to kind of stand up or move around or do something that's a little bit active. Biking to work is one option. My dad bikes to work in all seasons of the year, which is kind of crazy, and maybe not doable for a lot of people, but I mean, you have to get to work anyway. And so if you could pick an active way to get there, then that's a really easy way to incorporate into your life, as long as you maybe have some studded tires and a good helmet. And if biking to work isn't something that feels doable, or you live farther away, something like just parking farther away from your building that you work in is a really good way to incorporate some more movement. So whether that's a couple of blocks away from your office building, or at the end of the parking lot rather than the very closest spot that you can find, that can be a really good way to just incorporate some more steps. If you have kiddos in your life, sweating while kids are sweating is a really great way to be more active. My nieces came to visit over Christmas, and they're 3 and 1. And I tried to run around with them for the whole day, the first day that they were there. And I was exhausted by the end of the day. They were jumping constantly, running around. So if you have, children that can kind of be a trigger that, oh, I maybe should be moving, to just hang out with them for a little bit. And that can be a really enjoyable way to be a little bit more active. Online workouts are a really good resource. There's endless online workouts. So a quick Google search for, kind of what you're looking for, whether that's just body weight activities, or whether you have like a couple of sets of dumbbells or a yoga mat. You can kind of put in how much time you're wanting to put in. That's a really good resource to find ways to incorporate some activity into your life. And then it kind of takes I have to drive to a gym, or I have to go and do this to do my activity. You could do it right in your living room, and that takes your transit time out. It kind of lets you do it at whatever point in the day you feel like works, and in the environments that you maybe feel the most comfortable in. So that can be a really good option. The one thing that I will say is that we don't drift towards making healthy habits in our life. And so this point at the bottom is just kind of saying that you need to have a plan to be more active. So if you think, oh yes, I should be more active, but don't really have really specific things in mind to kind of help you do that in your life, it might not happen. Maybe if you're a better person than I am, it will, but I find it hard unless I have, a really specific plan for what's going to work. So know what time of day you have a few extra minutes, or 20 minutes for a quick workout or movement break, and schedule it in, and set yourself up for success in that way. I know some people like to get their movements out of the way first thing in the morning, so they'll wake up a little bit earlier and then get ready for work and have their breakfast. I hate working out in the morning, so I would never do that. So for me, as soon as I leave work, I head to the gym and get my workout in that way, and then it kind of takes the deciding out of it. So I know that right after I'm done work, I do my movement, and then I go back home and I can relax for the rest of the evening. So it's really just finding what's going to work into your life, and making a plan, and then following through with it too, and kind of setting yourself up for success that way. So I know Val has shared these resources with all of you. I think it might be on your website. There's these videos that are really good for quick things that you can do at home, all of these online fitness classes. I put that participation link that I used talk to you about for some of the guidelines for how much activity. And so that's a really good resource. It has lots of options for ways to be more active in our lives. And then this 15 exercises you can do at your desk is a really good option too. So just ways to kind of check in and stretch out those muscles that might be getting a little tight, and incorporate that into your day that way. So that's basically all I have for you today. If you like fancy references, these are fancy references that I used to build some of the slides at the beginning, but otherwise, that is it for me. And thank you so much for letting me come and chat with you today. if you have any questions, I would be happy to try to answer them. Or if you want to share ways that you are physically active in your life, that would be fun to hear too.
Well, thank you so very much, Shay. That was excellent. And I was really glad as you were going along. I'm like, okay, perfect. I do have the wellness challenge completely with the same numbers. So obviously that's where I got them from. They're not just Val's numbers. The 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity per week, that's why the 75 points that you're getting, because for every 10 minutes, you're getting 5 points. So that's where that's coming from, right? So yeah, at this point, is there anybody that has any questions? Or I like the idea, like Shay said too, things that work for you. It's always nice to hear from someone else and it's like, oh, that might work for me. So anybody want to share anything? Well, I can only handle a pause for a little while. There we go, Anne. Perfect.
I was just going to say, I never use the bathroom on the main floor. It always forces me to walk upstairs, you know, however many times a day are necessary. And I make a habit of doing that all the time. It's small, but makes a difference. And then when I really want to, I at least try twice a day to go the stairs 2 at a time. So it will strengthen my legs.
Nice. That's great.
I don't know how many people have SaskTel Max, but they have on, oh, I forget what it's called. They have exercises on there that I do in the mornings at least 3 times a week. And they have all different levels for people at all different levels. and I always do it first thing in the morning to get it out of the way. Mind you, awesome. I'm not working anymore, so I have that time.
That's great.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Anne, you might be making that trip a little bit more, especially if water intake has increased during the wellness challenge. Everybody talks about that, right? Oh yeah, now I'm drinking all the water and all I do is run to the bathroom. However, I've been told that our body will plateau and then you don't run as often. Plus, just look at it as a bonus. You get a few more steps in your day when you're running to the washroom. So a couple other things I just wanted to comment about was about people sharing things at work. I know this is from last week, but Gloria shared this with me from one of the teams. Something that she tries for going to sleep, she's done it for years, is she goes through the alphabet. So when she's laying in bed, she starts with A and thinks of every word she can imagine that starts with A, and then she gets to B and every word she can imagine to come up with B. And she said usually by C, she's asleep. So just thought I would share that with everybody. I'll try to put that in the email if I think of it too. The other thing I want to mention, when Shay talked about balance, and especially as we get older and having our core strength and our balance and preventing falls, one of the city programs that we operate and run is called Forever in Motion. And it is a provincial program that is organized through SPRA. And it was actually designed by physiotherapists in Saskatoon many years ago. Anyways, the foundation of that entire program is to prevent falls, and they work lots on balance. So if you are interested, that's something maybe I can share in the emails too, is we have Forever in Motion programs that run throughout Swift Current 4 times a week at the Stockade and then other buildings too. So I wanted to mention that one. And oh yeah, and also just with all the free programs that participants are able to enjoy during the wellness challenge, that Forever in Motion is one of them that is free right now. There's Walking for Wellness too with the city out the Stockade. So there are a few different programs that are available, and our Wednesday noon hour. Come on out. Last week there were, how many? Mary, I think there were six playing pickleball last Wednesday. So if you want to join us tomorrow at lunch from 12 till 1, there's badminton, pickleball, and walking going on at Stockade. That's my little pump about the city and a few programs. But anyone else for some questions or anything you'd like to share with Shay or the group today? All right. I don't know what that comfortable, awkward silence is before you need to speak, but Val can't last too long. So, all right. Oh, you're welcome. Leah was just putting in the chat there. Thank you. So Shay, thank you so very much. I know as a student, you've got lots on your plate and you're learning lots and doing lots. And here was one extra project that was sent your way. Also, I guess, thank you to Angela LaFontaine, who is also your supervisor, I believe, and she had been in the room here previous. So thank you for sharing your knowledge, your passion, and your enthusiasm today. Thank you to all the Wellness Challenge participants who joined us, and keep on going there, guys. We got 2 more weeks to go. So enjoy your week. And yeah, anytime you have some of those success stories or stuff, just pop me an email. I can always share it with the group through an email too. So enjoy the rest of your day, and good luck to all of your teams. See you guys. Have a good day. Thank you again, Shay. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thanks
right,
for
bye-bye.
letting me come chat with you. Bye.
Yeah, you're welcome.